Hopefully you're still alive and fighting in your fantasy football leagues, but if you are and you have these players, it might be time to start getting nervous. Let's start with Jahmyr Gibbs on Thanksgiving. 9 carries in this game to Monty's 21. It wasn't like Jahmyr Gibbs was bad, they just didn't give him the ball. I'm going to hope it was because of that late fumble in the first half on that screenplay, and things will right itself here. I'm not ready to panic or be fully nervous about Jahmyr Gibbs yet, although there is that video that he might have sent out some plays, so let's hope he's not in the doghouse. But as of right now, I'm not too nervous about Jahmyr Gibbs, but this is definitely something to watch going forward. But I am starting to get a little nervous about his teammate Amon-Ra St. Brown. He now has 7 games with 6 or less catches in those games, and he's only topped 75 yards 4 times all season long. Now, he has scored a decent amount of touchdowns, which has helped his fantasy value kind of afloat here, but we're seeing Jameson Williams getting more involved, Tim Patrick getting a little more involved, and they have a great run game as well, so they just don't need to throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown as much as they did in years past. I still think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be good, I just don't know if he's going to be league-winning good like we thought he was going to be before the season. And I definitely don't think Breece Hall is going to be league-winning good. Oh my goodness, he played through that knee injury, and look, he was actually pretty good. Had 12 carries, 60 yards, that's 5 yards a pop, but where's the receiving work? 0 catches in this game? Not to mention he's stuck in this Jets offense. Breece Hall has a pretty good schedule the rest of the way, but at the same time, how good can we really feel here about Breece Hall? I guess on the positive, he's not hurt, but on the negative, almost everything else. You got to be very nervous about Breece Hall if somehow you're still even alive with Breece Hall. And right when it was looking like CeeDee Lamb was going to be okay with Cooper Rush, we could start him in our fantasy lineups, he got a case of the dropsies on Thanksgiving, and not only that, re-injured that shoulder. And that's the thing that really is worrying me here for CeeDee Lamb. It's not Cooper Rush. We know he can at least be serviceable with Cooper Rush. But if the Cowboys continue to struggle, if they're out of it, dealing with this shoulder injury, why wouldn't they just shut down their star wide receiver? So I'm very nervous not only that CeeDee Lamb probably doesn't have the ceiling we expected him to have before the season, but we might not even see him the entire season. And let's just keep going along with the first round bust, because there's a ton of them this year. How about any Dolphins pass catcher that isn't a tight end or a running back? I mean, I'm sorry, what? A tight end and a running back. Yes, these are the focal points of the Dolphins offense right now. What happened to this high-powered offense? I got to watch Jonnu Smith catch 10 passes across the middle. Devon Achane get like 8 screen passes. Meanwhile, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they're just out there running wind sprints. I know Tyreek Hill had a nice fantasy game, but he caught a touchdown on a pass intended for Jonnu Smith, because why not? It was, of course, intended for Jonnu Smith, because every pass is intended for Jonnu Smith in this offense. Even with that touchdown, Tyreek Hill still has been a huge bust this year. Jalen Waddle been one of the biggest busts this year, and I don't see how it's going to change the rest of the way. But we're not done with first-round busts. Oh, no. How about A.J. Brown? No Devonta Smith this week? No, not really any fantasy points either. I mean, he was okay, like 11 PPR points, but come on, 11 PPR points against the Ravens? I know the Ravens defense has been better, but still, you're A.J. Brown without Devonta Smith. Not to mention, he's now finished outside the top 30 wide receivers in 4 of his last 6 games, and he's only gone over 16 PPR points once in that span. This is not what we drafted you for, A.J. Brown. You're supposed to be a stud wide receiver carrying fantasy teams, and right now, you have been far from that. And again, I don't see how this gets better. You got Saquon Barkley, who is just going to be inevitable in 2024. It's the year of Saquon. You know Jalen Hurts can run. Devonta Smith is going to come back. Sure, A.J. Brown will probably have a big game between now and the end of the season, but I don't know if he's going to have multiple big games. And I don't know if Garrett Wilson was a first-round pick in every fantasy draft, but he was at least a late first or an early second-round pick, and he certainly has not played like it this year. 5 catches on 10 targets, only 4 games over 16 PPR points this year, and for some reason, Aaron Rodgers just loves to throw to Davante Adams all game long. Again, I don't see how it really gets better for Garrett Wilson here. Garrett Wilson probably going to go down as a big-time bust for the 3rd year in a row, sadly. And Malik Nabers definitely wasn't a first-round pick this year, and Malik Nabers hasn't been awful this year, but we did not draft Malik Nabers for a floor, and that's all we're going to get from Malik Nabers this year. Sure, he's going to get the targets because he's a diva, and he's going to cry, and he's going to complain, and he's going to say, even if I drop it 6 times, even if we lose, throw me the ball, which is good for fantasy, except for the fact that he's got Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito as his quarterback. It doesn't matter which one of these guys it is. We've seen both of them now. They're both terrible. Malik Nabers, only a floor play with no upside. And I don't really know what to make of DK Metcalf right now. Another guy, not a first round pick, but like a top 3-4 round pick who was looking great earlier in the season. And now we have 3 straight games of him being outproduced by Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now, granted, neither of them did anything this week really of substance, but It's a fact that JSN is outproducing him that is starting to worry me here. And he doesn't really have the best schedule the rest of the season either. I think you're probably mostly rolling with DK Metcalf, but I think the guy we saw early in the season, probably not the guy we're going to see down the stretch. And the same is true about Kenneth Walker. What happened to this guy? Earlier in the season, this guy looked like he was going to be a league winner at running back. Now he's just like so, Hasn't gone over 13 PPR points in 5 straight games. We had to watch Zach Charbonnet score a touchdown this week. I feel like this is what Kenneth Walker did last year too. Like started like a house of fire and then just kind of disappeared down the stretch. Again, I'm sure Kenneth Walker will score a touchdown or two the rest of the way here. He'll do something the rest of the way. But Kenneth Walker also just looking like more of a floor play these days. And I'm not really sure what Aaron Jones is looking like these days. I mean, he looks good in real life, and after that big game last week, it looked like, okay, he's in a great spot this week. He had a big game last week. Let's fire him up. And nope, didn't really happen for him. Not only did he fumble, but didn't really do much else. He did catch the game-winning touchdown, which is great for the Vikings, but didn't really save his fantasy day today. I feel like Aaron Jones is one of those guys who's been better in real life than in fantasy, and I think that's probably how it's going to continue to be. Again, Aaron Jones is a good enough player that he'll have a game, maybe 2 the rest of the way where he's really good, but most of the time, you're probably just going to be looking at him going like, where are the fantasy points? And Chuba Hubbard has been fantastic all season long, looking like one of the best waiver wire pickups, and now I am definitely getting nervous. It's not just that he had a bad game this week. It's not that he fumbled in overtime and maybe cost the Panthers a game. It's the fact that we finally saw Jonathan Brooks get actual run in this game. He only outcarried Jonathan Brooks 12-6. Jonathan Brooks got a couple of carries near the goal line, but more importantly, Jonathan Brooks got all the receptions. If Chuba Hubbard is going to start splitting carries, splitting passing down work, splitting goal line work with Jonathan Brooks, that is going to be absolute disaster for Chuba Hubbard the rest of the season. I know it's only one game. I'm not ready to fully say this is it. Jonathan Brooks is, going to start eating into his workload, but you got to be nervous if you've been rolling with Chuba Hubbard all year. And I can't even say you got to be nervous you got Michael Pittman. I mean, if you got Michael Pittman, you just have one of the biggest busts on your fantasy team, and that's all there really is to say about that, honestly. Even with Downs out this week against Patriots, did almost nothing, has not reached 20 PPR points all season long. He's only gone over 17 PPR points once all season long. I mean, yeah, this guy is going to go down as one of the biggest busts in 2024, unless he somehow just goes nuts between now and the end of the season. But even if he does, is your team really alive if you drafted Michael Pittman in round 3, round 4? Probably not. And since coming back from ACL, TJ Hawkinson's had 3 bad games and 2 good games. But look, this is what you're going to get. He's a tight end. He's in this Vikings offense. You never know. Jefferson's always going to be the number 1. You never know when there will be an Addison week. I think you just got to keep rolling with Hawkinson. Maybe he's not going to be a league-winning tight end or anything this year, but I think you just got to roll with the ups and the downs. And I feel the same way about Kyler Murray. Yeah, he wasn't horrible this week, but he also wasn't great. Certainly last week he was terrible. But he has the kind of upside not a lot of quarterbacks have. I get it. If you have better options than Kyler Murray, sure, bench Kyler Murray. But I wouldn't go out there and do anything crazy like dropping Kyler Murray or starting another QB over Kyler Murray. I think, again, kind of like Hawkinson, you just got to roll with the ups and downs. But I am probably ready to give up on Cade Otton at this point as a tight end. Yeah, he's still a streaming option because he's still out there, but the 2 games with Evans back, we just haven't seen the same guy. Not to mention, this run game is absolutely fantastic with Bucky Irving now, so they really don't even need to throw the ball as much. It's pretty much Mike Evans and the running backs. Cade Otton, just a streamer at this point. And I do just quickly want to mention Cooper Kupp. Had a terrible game this week. I get it, but he's mostly been good this year. We're going to give Cooper Kupp a pass this week, where the Rams really did hardly anything on offense. This whole game, hardly anything happened on either offenses. Let's be real. And then I also want to mention, if you picked up Kareem Hunt and you've been rolling with him off the waiver wire, it's time to let it go. It was fun while it lasted, but Isaiah Pacheco is back now, and let's be real. It wasn't even fun. Get Kareem Hunt off my TV.